What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what is really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoundHound is having a absolutely epic day, up 7.85%, 1231 the high, 1129 the low, and just shy of roughly around 29 million shares being traded. So definitely getting a little bit of a bump up in the volume. A lot of that though is due to algorithmic trading. So as you can kind of see from the flow right here, AI is really pushing SoundHound higher. And in my opinion, I do believe a lot of that is actually stemming from a lot of the bullish articles coming out, which ultimately are analyzing the analyst ratings. So I'll kind of go over all of that. But when it comes down to macro data, market is kind of iffy a little bit based on this. So we did have building permits for October and September, a little bit better than the forecast. And then housing starts, similarly, October and September, a little bit lower than the forecast. So they kind of cancel each other out. Non-farm payroll came in at 50,000, forecast of 45. Unemployment, 4.4. Forecast of 4.6. So at the end of the day, this labor data was on point. That's not what the market generally wants to see. So market's kind of torn. It wants to essentially move higher because of that, but at the same time, it really wants a rate cut. Michigan consumer sentiment came in at 54 versus a forecast of 52.7. So similarly, not necessarily the best. When it comes to SoundHound though, there hasn't been any news, no SEC filings, a lot of good posts and kind of marketing on social media being done associated to CES. So there was an interview that was posted on January the 7th. So what I'll do, for those of you that haven't listened to it, I will play that at the end of the video because I feel like it's very advantageous for a lot of investors to kind of listen to. Aside from that though, it's just institutions buying. In regards to shorts, they're increasing about 722,000 shares. So they are trying their best to really slow it down. 31.06% of the free float is being shorted, works to be 117 million shares overall being shorted. So all-time high short interest on a side note is around 34.73. So we are kind of getting closer and closer to that. Cost to borrow average is 1.31%, so kind of on the low end. DTC being at 3.99 days. Looking at the options, 6.8 million in calls, 2.3 in puts, and then 53% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. And ultimately, with today being Friday, you have 9,000 at the 11, 6,000 at the 11.50, and then 9,000 at the 12. Shorts, most likely their end game, because there's roughly around 3 hours left in the trading day. Their goal is they will try to get this 6,000 at the 11.50 to expire worthless. So they might be hitting SoundHound quite significantly and to again cause that to expire worthless. Next week is a monthly change, so that should be definitely very active. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. Similar to what I mentioned, institutions are buying, even though there really hasn't been that much in true operational updates from SoundHound, but definitely good to see institutions buying. On the dark pool though, you do see some pretty big transactions occurring. A lot of them are hold numbers, so it is fair to assume that it's hedge funds. So hedge funds are getting a little bit more involved in SoundHound, which I think is very welcomed. Aside from that, with it at 1190, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 1098 is going to be a strong support. That wasn't tested whatsoever today. I'm looking at the one-day chart on a side note, so this is very strong support and resistance points. And then 1223 is going to be that next strong target, and it kind of bounced off of that general area. So the reason why SoundHound, in my opinion, is consolidating is because it bounced off of this general R1 and quickly popping right back over here on the actual chart itself. It did bounce off of this, so the 50 and also 200-day moving average. So when I did my last video, I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, I kind of signaled that SoundHound was really wanting and on the verge to move higher, and all it needed was that nice gentle push. Of course, we did get a rush of new analyst ratings that did come out. And actually, while I'm on here, I'll give you a quick summary of that. So we did get D.A. Davidson keeping their $17 price target, Cantor keeping their 15, Piper, they did reduce it from 15 to 11, so not necessarily the best. And potentially we could be getting some new ones. One that I'm still waiting for is good old Wedbush, Daniel Ives, who did recently downgrade it, or I guess not recent, but in May, from 22 down to 15. So still keeping optimistic for that, but because of a lot of the most recent analyst ratings, a lot of articles are kind of talking about that, and AI is piggybacking off of that to really push SoundHound higher. So it is a funny chain of events, but ultimately, this 50 and 200-day moving average is going to be a hell of a resistance point to really get over. So SoundHound really does need to put out something good operationally to really push it higher. But still, definitely good improvement. So from the most recent low of about 986 to where we are now, it's gone up 18.48%. So pretty good stuff, I think, overall. Given the momentum. So definitely hats off to those individuals that were able to buy in the single digit again. The only thing I did for SoundHound for this week, I actually went pretty heavy. I did sell 30 puts. So equivalently around 3,000 shares at a strike price of $11. So it does look like it's going to be expiring worthless. So that's how I'm going to be getting about $1,200 or $1,300. So free money. Again, this is something I do almost every single week, not necessarily with SoundHound, but I love to get roughly around like $1,500 to $2,000 every single month or every single week, just based on premiums alone. So give yourself a shout out if you're in the same boat, and if you do the kind of the options wheel strategy, let me know. If not, take the time to research it. It could be very, very profitable and very beneficial. But aside from all of that fun stuff, I will get right over here and listen to this interview. Very good stuff. So if there's any questions, concerns, let me know. One final thing, if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, pop over to my Patreon and put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.
If you've ever been to a drive-thru and had an AI take your order, not a person, this is the guy who's responsible. 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, he's the CEO of SoundHound, and we are at CES today. There's so much excitement about so many new products, and you have your own announcements with 𝗪𝗟7 and Vision AI. Talk about those rollouts and what you kind of need to see in the next couple quarters to see if 𝗪𝗟7 has been really adopted by consumers.
Well, thank you for joining and looking at our booth to see the future. SoundHound is a voice and conversational AI company. We believe speaking is the most natural way to interact with devices and services. Last year we were at CES. We talked about agentic AI. Everybody talked about agentic AI. This is the year you're going to see it in action. We have lots of demos that you can see agentic AI in the car, on TV, on devices, and so on.
Okay. So with 𝗪𝗟7, what are you most excited about with that product, and what are you looking for? What are the metrics, key measurement metrics you're looking for over 2026 to see if it's really been adopted?
So the first thing is agentic AI, right? Okay. So agentic AI is a software that can get things done for you. So for example, if you are driving a car, you can find a restaurant, you can order food, you can find parking tickets, buy tickets, make reservations at the restaurant, hotel reservation, flight booking, and so on. It just doesn't end. And with 𝗪𝗟7, you can build these experiences in a matter of minutes. It used to take months and months with a large team to do these things. Now, with a matter of minutes, a single person with not writing a single line of code can do it. All of that is done by our AI in the background. So the adoption of that is what we are looking at. We are already the biggest deployments, as far as I know. We are in millions of deployments, hundreds of brands. We are in financial services, we are in healthcare, we are in restaurants, we are in cars, and we are on TVs.
Okay, let's talk about the cars a little bit, because autonomous mobility has been such a huge theme of CES. But I want to talk about some of the competitors in this space. You know, OpenAI and Tesla have announced huge strides in terms of multimodal voice technology. Why would an automaker choose? Now, you guys have been in this space for 20 years, but why? Make us your best pitch. Why would an automaker choose SoundHound over some of those larger tech companies?
Well, two reasons. Technology and partnership, right? So first of all, technology beats the big tech. So we benchmark it against the big tech. Our customers benchmark it against the big tech, and we always come on top. We beat in benchmarks, the public benchmarks, and the benchmarks of our own customers. We have lower word error rate, better accuracy, fastest response time, and lower cost. The second reason is we partner with our customers. Our customers don't want a vendor. They don't want someone to say, here's an API, good luck. They want us to sit with them, listen to their pain points, hear their vision, and help them achieve those visions. And that kind of partnership is why they choose us.
Now, we're a platform, obviously, for retail investors, and I think investors were paying a lot of attention to you when you indicated guidance break-even, right, for 2026 on an adjusted EBITDA basis. What is the single biggest variable, 𝗖𝗎𝗓, that determines whether or not you hit that target?
Well, our revenue has been growing year over year since we went public, and it's a balance of growing revenue and investing in opportunities and also managing costs. We've done some acquisitions that gives us cost synergies, so we can actually reduce costs.
Amelia.
Yes, we've done 4 acquisitions. Revenue is growing, so it's a balance between how much do you want to invest so that you can capture more markets, build new technologies like Vision AI that we announced last year. You can see it at CES in our booth this year, and then cost management. The great thing about SoundHound is that we have a strong balance sheet, hundreds of millions of dollars of cash, no debt, and that gives us optionalities to be able to turn the knob on investment versus cost management, and that optionality is very valuable to us.
I was going to ask, I'm glad that you mentioned the hundreds of millions of dollars of cash that you do have. If that ramp up towards break even is a little bit slower than expected, under what conditions would you consider maybe another capital raise?
It's a conversation we are having with our CFO on a daily basis. The great thing about it is our stock trades well, so we can raise money on short notice, but we can be very thoughtful about it, and we've been very thoughtful about it in the past. At the moment, there is no pressing need, but having more capital allows us to do other things like investment in new technologies, going faster in new markets, maybe more acquisitions, and that's something that we constantly talk about.
Finally, what's your favorite application of SoundHound?
Voice commerce, right?
What's the last thing you ordered?
Well, we order food. You can make hotel reservations. You can find parking, and you can pay for it all up with your voice. And you will see a lot more at CES. You can actually find hotels. You can find flights. You can book them. You can search for them. You can have very complicated criteria when you're searching for things. Like it used to be, like you could set timers, and you can maybe ask for weather. But now you can have very complex criteria, and our agentic AI provides us the right solution.
Do it for you. That's value for the application. Thank you so much, 𝗖𝗎𝗓.
Thank you for being here.
So yeah, pretty good interview. And when I did test drive the Gravity, Lucid Gravity, I used that. And so I think there is a lot of good opportunity for SoundHound there. It's really unfortunate to hear recently about Rivian as well, kind of just not using SoundHound. They're just doing it more in-house. So let me know your thoughts on SoundHound. And with all that, appreciate all you watching.